All right, welcome to another episode of Y&T and Friends Vinyl Talk. I'm your host, Brian Foster, and today I have a very special guest, a repeat guest with me today, Mr. Tim Durling. How you doing, Tim?
Doing really good, Brian. And of all the episodes you've asked me to sit in on, I'm really glad you asked me about this one because this was such a pivotal album for me.
I know I'm extremely excited to talk about this, especially with you. First off, though, of course, I gotta plug the book. So
Thank you.
if you don't have this yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but the Y&T Down for the Count album review. Awesome book that Tim put out a couple years ago. Definitely get that. Um, but what we're going to talk about today is Y&T's 1990 album 10,
Look at that, the CD long box.
The Long Box. How about that?
Wow.
So I usually show vinyl, right? And if you've seen part
Totally.
one, you saw the vinyl here, but this is the long box that it came in. So
Oh, that is so awesome. I had at one time, I was just actually talking with a couple buddies about long boxes, and I was looking some up on eBay to see if there were any being sold. I don't know what happened to my long boxes. I probably had 2 dozen of them. Now, I didn't have 10. I had Contagious and Yesterday and Today Live. And I used to have them. I cut the front part out and had them on my wall. I don't know what happened to them.
yeah, what's interesting. Look, this was not a best-selling album, right? This was so to me, I started to think like, did this really come out without a long box and CD?
I remember seeing the long box because there was a store that I used to shop at in Maine. And what they would do, it's kind of cool. Unfortunately, by the time I discovered it, it was just about ready to close up in probably 92. But they would have the long, it was sort of like, it was very old school. They'd have the long boxes in the racks, and you'd take the long box up to the counter, and they'd give you the CD, sort of like old movie rental places.
Right. Yep. Sure.
So, but the problem is with that method of doing it, they put that artwork on the vinyl and the cassette and the long box. That's why the CD just looks like this. Well,
Exactly.
in
Exactly.
Canada, well, what is this? It doesn't, it's sideways, like, you know what I mean? So they were really putting all of that into the long box. So yeah, they did have a long box for it, but yeah, it's as anybody that knows me knows, this is the point where I got into the band. I had been
Yep.
aware of them, but I saw the video for the one and only single from this album, and I was hooked. And that started me on this journey. And 3.5 decades later, I'm writing a book about them, and I'm still just such a huge fan, and especially of this album. This is an album. This is one of those albums that I mean, I will be listening to it till I don't have hearing anymore, but I don't have to. I can play the whole album in my head. It's in there. Everything's in there. All the ad libs, all the guitar solos, all the drum fills. It's all in there.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. So, look, this was album that was released in. We were just talking about this off air, but between May and June, I guess we'll say
Yeah,
1990.
yeah.
Um, a new member was a part of Y&T for this album. Steph Burns took over for Joey Alves on rhythm and guitar. Was recorded in 1989, and we'll talk about when this maybe should have been released here in just a minute. But they used a couple studios for this, Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, and then Sound City Studios, Van Nuys, very popular studio. If you guys haven't never seen the Dave Grohl documentary about Sound
Good.
City,
It's really good. Yeah, really
awesome
interesting.
documentary, highly recommended. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been so much great music that came out of that studio. It's just absolutely incredible.
I think all of those classic studios should have a documentary. Like Sunset Sound has a great YouTube channel where they do lots of interviews with people.
Yep,
But Fantasy Studios, that's another one. I mean,
yep.
all the way back to CCR and lot of the Journey albums.
Yep.
There's a connection there. Um, so yeah, but the Sound City one is excellent.
Yeah. On Geffen Records, this is the second album off of Geffen.
Yeah, yeah.
Second and last, unfortunately. And then produced by Mike Stone, who probably most famously produced Journey, which we'll get into a little bit because he had an old Journey member play on this album. Um, but yeah, so let's talk about this. Was recorded in 1989, so and wasn't released until let's say May or June of 1990. So why such the long gap, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, record companies, make these weird decisions, and to be honest with you, I don't think I would have thought anything of it if it weren't for the existence of a particular CD single, which you have and I don't, but the date on it threw everything into consideration. So yeah, that is a promotional single for Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, the first
Yep,
single from 10, but it's got a copyright date on it of 1989.
1989.
Yeah, and to further complicate things, it also has Summertime Girls as the second track. And of course, that's on A&M, which makes me wonder if the, well, no, that doesn't make sense either, because that was long before Universal bought out. Because at the end of 1990, Geffen switched distribution from Warner to MCA,
MCA,
and
right?
then sometime around that time, A&M switched from like their own to like they were bought up by Polygram. So that doesn't really fly either. Now it's all Universal. But it must not have been any problem for them to get the rights to that, and it was probably to get radio DJs to say, "Here's the new single from this band Y&T. You might remember them for the 1985 song "Summertime Girls." But the main thing is that the 1989 date on it, which up until this point, Y&T had never been more than 2 years between albums. So
No, yeah,
that makes me, yeah, it makes me wonder if it was initially not scheduled for, say, fall of 1989. Now, if all I can do is guess, but I know that, it's been said that Contagious, first album on Geffen, sort of got lost in the shuffle because it came out around the same time as Appetite for
Appetite.
Destruction,
Yep,
and the Whitesnake album was taking up a lot of the promotional time, and then that fall, Permanent Vacation was Aerosmith's big comeback, and so once again, Y&T found themselves on the back burner. So maybe Geffen said, look, we're going to put the new Aerosmith album out in September, which was Pump. And
yep.
so we'll wait and we'll give you guys a real push just in time for the summer. But
And
people for
there was a couple other Geffen albums that came out later in '89 too that might have done that. Blue Murder, which I know that Geffen was high on with
yeah,
that
John
trio,
Sykes,
John
great
Sykes,
album.
Tony Franklin, and Carmine Appice there, and then also Whitesnake's Slip of the Tongue.
Yeah, the big follow-up to the
Yep.
1987 album. Yeah. And and also Tesla, another Bay Area band, were
Yeah.
doing great business at this point. I mean, how great would it have been if they'd have put the album out at a time when they could have ended up, because when Tesla ended up headlining, they were huge Y&T fans. Y&T could have ended up as a special guest for Tesla and gotten a little bit of exposure.
Sure.
It's, again, it's going back into that whole why didn't they break it big? And it's so hard not to talk about them without getting into it because the excellence of the music. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely some record company machinations going on, and so the guys basically had to sit and twiddle their thumbs. And now that I think about it, I know that the guys did a tour, like they did a very, basically like a Bay Area tour in summer '89 where they tested a lot of this material out. So who knows? Maybe that was supposed to be the beginning of the 10 tour. I don't know how much of a tour there was for this album because, unlike when Contagious came out, they ended up, co-headlining with Ace Frehley. So
Correct.
at least they were out there and they had an itinerary. But for 10, I don't know that there was a full scale tour other than just playing shows around the Bay Area and eventually led to the end of the year shows, which were recorded for Yesterday and Today Live.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, look, we've done episodes and talked about some of those A&M albums, and we kind of, you know, gone on A&M for not promoting this band the way that we felt that like they probably should have. And, unfortunately, I think the same thing happened with Geffen. I don't know that, to be honest, that John, Clogger was, on board or, a big fan or wanted to push this band. I think that, I know that Don Dokken had a lot to do with getting them signed on Geffen, but I just don't know if he was a huge believer and wanted to push this band.
I think that he was going where the money was, and the money was with Aerosmith and Whitesnake.
White
Even the
Snake,
slip of the tongue,
Guns N' Roses,
underperform
yep.
underperformed. I don't know how much Claude had to do with GNR, to be honest with you. I think that was sort of a I'm not sure. I'm sure
Yep.
his name's on the album, but yeah, Y&T just once again got lost in the shuffle, and it is a shame because they delivered an album. I think that is better than Contagious. I think this album is a classy melodic hard rock album, and there are so many potential hits on it. It's got 12 songs on it. It's a lengthy album, but it's not too long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I find that it's very listenable. I think that I've always kind of in my mind compared this lineup of Y&T to like the Revenge era lineup of Kiss. I
Yes.
think this
Yep.
was the this
Yep.
was the most musically adept
Absolutely.
lineup of Y&T.
Absolutely.
Nothing at all against anyone else that's
No,
ever been in the
no,
band,
no.
but this band with Jimmy and Steph could play anything. And really for the first time, Dave was not doing all the solos.
No.
I
There's
think Steph,
four.
yeah, he does four on the album.
Yep.
Now, so yeah, so I've got a single to Don't Be Afraid too. It's different, and you've probably got this one too. It's just got the album
Yep.
cover on it,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
it's sort of like half, and it's got three different versions on here. It's got the
Yep.
rock edit fade, the rock edit, and then just the LP version.
Yep.
And because I do remember that uh, the video for Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is edited. It doesn't have the little breakdown before the final
Right.
chorus. Other
Exactly.
than that, it's just the same. As a matter of fact, at one time I had some video editing software that I was able to get the video from YouTube and sync it to the album track so it sounded really good. And I spliced in some other footage for that breakdown section and came back in at just the right time and uploaded it to YouTube and got a copyright strike.
Of course you did.
And you know what? And I remember thinking if Universal Music or whatever the label is cared that much about their artists when they were
Right.
active on the label, this could have been a very different story. But
Yeah.
needless, I took it down. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I thought that in this era, like I don't want anybody to start thinking, well, it's 1990 and grunge. No, grunge was not even
No,
in the
no, this
ballpark of
was,
this. 1990 was still the full year
yes.
of 1990 was still
Yes.
fertile ground for this sort of hard rock music. This fit right in with popular radio. This would have nestled alongside Winger and Warrant and Firehouse and you know
Slaughter.
Slaughter. Yeah, you know, but again, these guys were quote unquote old. Um, and but that certainly didn't hurt Aerosmith or Whitesnake. So that's where I draw a blank. It's like
Yeah.
that shouldn't have anything to do with anything.
Well, it's like here, I got a 1990 July issue of Circus Magazine here, right?
Yeah.
There's your
Yeah.
promotions for 10.
I had that. Yeah, they couldn't even be bothered. I had that very magazine because I was waiting for it. I was waiting to see ads for this. And what do we get? We get like a third of
Right.
the page,
Yeah. In
black
black and
and
white.
white, and black and white, it practically invisible. There was
Yep.
a and you might have it. I used to have there was an issue of Hit Parader that came out later on in 1990. Janie Lane was on the cover. And at the end of the very last section of the magazine that's an interview is an interview with Dave talking about the album. That's the only press I
Yeah.
ever saw on 10. I'm
Yep.
not saying that's all there was. That's all I ever saw in my neck of the woods.
No, I do have a Geffen Records press kit here, which has a little typed write up on the band, and then a little press kit photo.
Yeah.
Uh,
I've got the one for Contagious, but I don't have the
Yeah,
10.
yeah, I
10.
have that one too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, again, like, look, I think, you know, I know when John was on, when we talked about In Rock We Trust, we talked about like, that album in 1984. I mean, that was like a perfect album for 1984. I
Yeah.
think 10 is a perfect album for 1990. It's exactly what it should be to to make it.
Yeah. Another album like Contagious would have seemed out of step in
Yes.
1990. Contagious was perfect for 1987. I think these guys were, they always just kind of understood what, uh, and I don't think there was anything calculated about it, but they've been around long enough. They had this maturity in the sound. Dave's vocals were just, at their peak, maybe, and this time, well, I would say Mike Stone was probably the biggest name in producers that they ever worked with. So
And this album
so
sounds amazing.
it does. It's sonically, it's high fidelity, sounds really good with a nice pair of headphones. It's
Yep.
full sounding, and it doesn't sound dated to me
Nope.
when I listen to it today. So Mike Stone, I mean, he goes back. He was Roy Thomas Baker's engineer, so he worked on a lot of the early Queen albums, and then he co-produced Day at the Races and News of the World with the
Yeah.
band without Roy. But then yes, he went on to become a big producer in his own right with Journey's Escape and Frontiers. Those were produced with Kevin Elson,
Huge
but
albums.
huge albums. And he also co-produced the White Snake '87
Seven
album
album.
with
Yep.
with Keith Olsen. So and a ton of other like well, yeah, he produced it's weird. To me, they don't sound like Mike Stone productions, but he produced three April Wine albums. Their biggest one, Nature of
Oh,
the
that's right.
Beast,
Yes.
Power
Yes.
Play,
Forgot
and
about
Animal
that.
Grace. He co-produced all those with Miles Goodwin. Now, those don't sound like April Wine or like Mike Stone productions to me, but that might be because of Miles. But yeah, you've seen Mike Stone's name on big albums, and so obviously Mike Stone wouldn't have been the producer that whose services came, you know,
Cheap.
cheap. And a lot of times you get a big producer, and that's sort of an automatic, especially like in the biz, people go, "Oh, Mike Stone produced this."
Yeah.
Now, yeah, as you kind of hinted at earlier, that comes with its own set of problems because some producers are very particular, and this was wonderfully illuminated on the documentary on with the show, the whole recording of the 10 album. And um, But before we get into that, I do want to show like because
Yeah,
you've already shown
absolutely.
off your
Yep.
the my first copy of 10 was a cassette that looked just like this. This is a Canadian copy, which the first thing you'll notice if you're familiar with the US one is that
Yep.
it's printing's in
Black
black
instead
and
of
not
white.
white.
Yep.
Yep. So it looks like on the back, and this is
Yep.
what the cassette itself looks
Yep.
like. Played this cassette a good many times. I've also got another Canadian cassette, which is the Columbia House
Yep. Got that
issue.
one. Yep.
Um, Similar, but not quite the same. But
Yep.
the weird thing is, and you and I have talked about this before, I've got two different US cassettes of 10. Now, I think the reason one of these might have been in the sun. I don't think there's naturally that much of a color variant. It looks like they're very, very different shades of orange. I don't
Yeah.
think
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't
I
think
don't I
so.
don't think that's it. But the cassette that I initially saw that a buddy of mine picked up when he got into the band looked like this.
Yep.
And so it had sort of like almost like a typewritten font. But later on eBay, I noticed there was one, and they showed a picture of the tape, and it was more of just a Helvetica font. And my first thought was, oh, this must have been that period where Geffen switched distributors from
MCA.
Warner to MCA, but no, they're both distributed by Warner Brothers. So I really don't understand why there's two different pressings of that. And there doesn't seem to be an MCA distributed version of 10 because I remember this distinctly. I
Yeah.
bought in December of 1990, I bought Tesla's 5 Man acoustical jam. And then like about a month later, John bought it. And by the time he bought it, it had switched distributors.
MCA.
That's how like mine still had Warner distribution on it. So that obviously 10 didn't sell enough to do that. The only thing I've got, and I know we've talked about this too, my Contagious CD says it's distributed by MCA. So it must have sold a little bit better than 10 did.
Yeah, it did.
I remember seeing 10, in the cutout bins, not cut, but just marked down. And there'd be, tons of this, right?
Yep.
And I always wish that I could just have bought them up. Now this copy I've got, the first copy I bought looked like this, but this is actually a sealed copy. At one point, I want to say in like 98, 99, I was a member of Columbia House, and in Canada, they were blowing out a bunch of CDs, and 10 was one of them. They were like 99 cents. So I bought four of these, and this is the only one I've got left because I gifted them to friends of mine. So I've still got a sealed copy of this. But the one that surprised me was when I found that same record store I was telling you about with the long boxes on the wall or
Yeah.
whatever. I found this. I found this it was actually in a blister pack. So it was um it had yeah, it had this promotional CD, but the blister pack had this on top of it. So and it was
So
really cheap. So I was excited to find that.
so let me show you this. So the one I have,
The see-through? Oh,
it's
wow.
screenshot on it's screen printed on there.
Oh, on the plastic itself, on the
On the
jewel case?
plastic itself, yes.
Wow. Okay.
And just came
Um,
with this.
okay, so mine didn't come with anything, but I kept the booklet out of my original Canadian CD.
Because I do have
And
another promotional copy that just looks like this.
okay, so all right, well, you know what? That tells me money was spent. But, in one, in another way of saying that is, yes, money was spent, but why did they once again, why did they only give them one video? I
Yeah.
mean, I think that well, I think it was their best video as far as like how the band looked and the overall
Yep,
production
I'd
value
agree.
of it.
Yeah.
I don't it was there were so
It
many
was more, it
videos.
was, I guess it was more mature.
Yeah, but the band looked cool, right?
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
I don't know where these video directors found all these abandoned
Abandoned
warehouses to
warehouses.
shoot these bands,
I
but
know.
there were a lot of them at the time. They had like, barrels of fire going and stuff, but it
Yep.
looked cool. Um, and it looked like they were trying to promote Dave as more of the front man because there'd be scenes with him just with the mic stand, which kind of looks funny because you
Yeah.
just need to, he just belongs
Yeah.
with a guitar. But uh, but when the Oncoming Home video came out many years later, I thought, okay, no, that's probably the coolest looking, the best
Yeah.
looking video they've done. But this was good. I mean, there was not. I think you could go back and watch this video, and it's not that dated. You know what I mean?
No.
Like they don't have
No.
the they don't have the colorful costumes and the
Yes.
robes
No.
and the
No.
you know. Um, but yeah,
No.
it just
It was a good look for him.
yeah, and you'd think, like you said, you'd think it would have been perfect for rock radio to pick
Yeah.
up on, and even rock radio. I think this peaked at 27 on the Billboard Mainstream Rock chart. So there was nothing on the Hot 100. What did the
Yeah.
album peak? This album peaked at what?
191 or
101, yeah, 180, 191 or something like
yeah,
that.
something like that.
Uh, yeah, it was bad, you know.
Yeah.
I don't understand it because like I said, grunge was not in the equation.
No,
There
this is
there
all.
were, I
Yep.
mean, and I don't understand it because Geffen were able to revive Whitesnake, who, to be fair, were never that big in the States to begin with, but still they did it. They did it with Aerosmith. Hell, they managed to do it with Cher. So why
Again,
couldn't they do it with Y&T?
I just have to think they just didn't believe in him. They just.
No, I think they thought, no, their time had passed. We gave them their
Yep.
shot and it didn't work. But,
Yep.
well, when you give their band, you just gave them a shot. Yes, they did. Um, but when, they put
He only
Contagious
gave
out
him one
as
video with
they only gave them
Contagious
one
too. So
video, I think the record company has to share some of the,
sure.
okay. You think maybe for a second it might have been us, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to make up for that by delaying the album until the beginning of summer. I have no idea. The only thing I know for sure about like release dates is that I've always heard it said that um putting something out just after Christmas is risky, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but other than that, I don't know. But I mean, it was
Yeah. Real quick
super.
here. This is a
Oh, look at that.
promotional cassette of 10 that I have.
That's
There's
cool.
no date on this thing. It's
No.
just a pretty generic cassette with the catalog number on it.
Yeah, it's got all the yeah. It looks official. It doesn't look like the oh, the one with the first two albums on
Yeah, no, it wasn't
it.
a
TDK
club
or
thing.
Memorex
Yeah,
or
no.
yeah.
And this is a US promo. This sticker is actually on the cassette there, on there, and it has the hole cut out. Oops.
Yeah.
Upside down, hole cut out there.
Wow, and that doesn't look like your regular. That looks like a literal hole punch.
Yeah, no, it's hole punch. Yeah, it's a
That's a
promo.
that's a perfectly round hole. Like
Yep, that's a promo.
yeah.
And then just a couple other promotional things there I want to show real quick. This is something they put out for actually says it's a little flashlight thing.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Look at that.
Yeah, unfortunately
Yeah.
it doesn't work anymore, but
Uh,
still got that. And then
I've never seen that before. I don't think that's really cool.
yeah, there was this little book that came out too.
Oh,
This is Christmas. So I mean, this is Christmas of '89. This came out. It has Y&T on the cover, and then it has right in the front cover Y&T 10. So this is Christmas of '89.
is that a Columbia House catalog?
It is not a Columbia
Because
House.
I have seen one something like that,
Yes.
but I don't think they were on the cover.
No, this is just called music. I'm not sure, but yeah, it does. It lists like, all these new releases coming out that you can order.
Is it all Geffen?
No, it's not all Geffen. And
Okay.
you can order, you get 3 CDs free type thing. So it's kind of like a Columbia House
I
thing.
was going to say that's very much the Columbia House business model.
Yeah, but for this, for
That's
December of
pretty cool.
89,
And that's a cool shot of them too.
yeah. And I'll show that picture here in just a sec because a couple years ago, Dave on the Y&T website auctioned off a bunch of his collections. He was downsizing, right? He's moved out of his house. He kind of,
Yeah, yeah,
says that he and
definitely.
Jill are nomads right now. They're just kind
Yeah,
of living
yeah.
wherever. So let me attempt to share this here real quick. Um, so that is a promotional picture um, of Y&T 10, and it has the autograph there, if you can see that.
Yeah, and I could see that's like the cover model, but just a different
Yeah.
shot.
Yep.
Okay, I'd never seen that before. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yeah. So I got that from him, and then I got the original print of the CD insert there
Okay, yeah.
that I had framed. So I got that from him, and then the mock-up of the CD long box.
Oh, that is awesome.
I know it's got
That's
a bunch
really
of,
cool.
it's hard to take a picture on there. You get all that reflection on there,
Yeah,
but
but I can see it. Yeah, that's cool. That's really
yeah.
cool.
Um, yeah, so those are items that I got from Dave's collection that relate to 10. So, which
I,
I definitely
I'm
love having.
I'm just trying to find I'm trying to find a picture of that Hit Parader magazine if anybody's interested because it was a good sorry, it was a good article with Janie. Or Janie. Janie's on the cover, Janie Lane, but it was a good interview with Dave. It's just there was just the one, right? It's
Yeah.
like at that time, Hit Parader, Circus, Metalheads, there were certain bands that got covered monthly. Every month you'd be reading about it. And Y&T was just never one of those. And why on earth can I not find this I could see a bunch of magazines that I used to have, but I'm not seeing this one. Anyway, it's from it probably so it's from fall of 1990, so it probably had a cover date on it of November or December. It's just
Right.
got Janie
Yeah, it
Lane on
always
this when
run a month
Cherry
or two
Pie.
behind. Yep.
Yeah, it's when Cherry Pie was out, and anyway, there's an article on. But now, what was misleading about that is that it said something about YNT never had a top 40 single, and it said the single "Summertime Girls" hit 41 in '85, and I come to find out, well, that's not true
Right.
because we've looked on Billboard, we've looked on Radio and Records, we
Yep.
can't find any evidence of
Nope.
it going any higher than 55. But anyway, but that's what crazy fans like us do. We try to find
Yeah.
everything we can. Now, I know on the first part of this you showed off your vinyl. Was there a
Yes.
domestic
So
Geffen?
yeah, I was just going to ask about that. So, do you have a copy of the
I
Columbia
do.
album?
I've got one vinyl copy of 10, and it looks like this.
Okay, so that's
And
the European version.
this is it's definitely European. This actually has a sticker on it that says PR copy, and in the bottom corner, it's got this logo
Yep.
beside the Geffen logo,
Yep. Yep.
and the vinyl itself. So it's got
It's got the inner sleeve that looks kind of like the CD.
yeah, except it's got a blue
Yep.
tint to
Blue.
everything. It's got
Yep.
some like there's some I don't know, there's water
Yep.
stains on it, but
Yeah.
it wasn't bad price wise. But what I find
Yep.
really strange about this is that instead of having the regular Geffen logo, it's got the DGC logo.
All right. So, as I showed in part one, there is a second label variation of that that has the regular Geffen logo.
Yeah,
So
and I've also
there are two
seen
copies that are European. So one has that label, the other one has the back to I think I got it right here. This is also that same version
yeah.
has that label.
So that kind of tells me that it must have sold better over there because they pressed it again.
Yep, and then there is a copy that was released in Mexico, and then the only U.S. was this version,
Yeah, the one with the. It looks like they just took the long box. Yeah, that back cover's terrible. That looks like a promo.
right? So
That's
the
like
interesting,
they send that ahead of time. The album's
yep.
on the way. This is kind of what it's going to look like, but it's not finished yet.
So the interesting thing about this is if you look in the dead wax, and you're not going to be able to see it, but which I tried to show in part one there. But in the dead wax, there is a Geffen catalog number for this album
Yeah.
that is etched out. It's GHS 24283.
Hmm.
Um, but obviously they decided not to release it themselves on there, and just this was printed at the Columbia pressing plant in Georgia, which
Okay.
a lot of Geffen titles I looked up, Blue Murder, the White Snake one, Aerosmith, the Columbia House copies had the Geffen catalog number on it, but were manufactured for Columbia House, were pressed at that same plant in Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, because Columbia House, and I've obviously ran into this with 8 tracks, kept making some releases available on vinyl longer than they were in stores. But in
Yeah,
19,
but
I was curious because in 1990 there were still
oh yeah, absolutely.
some retail records coming out, and I just
Absolutely,
wondered
there
if
was, and Geffen had a bunch in 1990 they released. So they made a conscious decision not to release this themselves on vinyl and just gave it to Columbia House, which then had to come up with a different jacket and a different catalog number because
yeah, it
the
doesn't.
catalog number is 1P8028.
Yeah, Columbia House always had they'd have the cat they'd have the label number, but they'd also have their own
Correct.
thing because up here in Canada it was always a 6-digit number followed by a C for cassette or a T for CD.
Right.
And that's how you wrote down what you want. As a matter of fact, for fact collectors, the Canadian let me see now, the Canadian the set of 10 has the number, yeah, these are small, uh, 7 785 785,980. So this is 785,980T. This is 785,980C.
Right.
And I don't know what the record, I
Yeah.
wasn't buying. By the time I joined Columbia House, there were no records.
Yeah.
So,
But I looked
um,
up like the first release out of 1990 that was a vinyl release from Geffen had a catalog number of 24280, which this one was 24283.
very close then. Yeah. What was
Very
that?
close.
What album
That
was
was
that?
that was gosh, I forgot to write it down. It was a heavy metal uh
Oh, was
band.
it Death Angel?
Yes.
Act Three.
Yes.
I know that. Um, I know that because I found that record. I didn't buy it, but I found that in some old, I wouldn't even call it a pawn shop. It was like basically a guy had stuff in his house for sale. It was the weirdest thing. It was in Maine. And I
Yep.
remember walking through, there's tapes in this room, and there's records in that room. And if, it did look like something that most of the stuff was older, but this would have been, it's still in the 90s. So this was an album from 1990, this Act Three. But I remember when I saw that, I'm like, holy crap. And I'm digging through
Yep.
the rest of the records. And what would the chances be that this would have just run off didn't find it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, the fact that this didn't come out till June tells you that this catalog number was made way before,
seen that happen
in
too. They were
'89.
yeah, I've
Yep.
seen that happen many times because either something's delayed by the artists themselves,
Yep.
not getting it into them in time, or
Yep.
yeah. And another big difference between the cassette and the CD is the track by track of who plays on each song, right? Because on the cassette, it just says additional drums, Steve Smith, and that's it. It doesn't go into any more detail
No.
than that.
Yeah, well, the
But
CD
when I
does.
but when I got the CD a few months later, because I mean, this actually I got into Y&T in 1990, and then by the end of 1990, we had the first CD player in our house. So I started buying a few CDs when I saw like bands that I was really into. And that's when I discovered that, yeah, it's additional drums by Steve Smith, like 9 of the 12 songs. So Jimmy only actually plays on 3 songs on the 10 album. And I mean, on one hand, I'm like, well, I'm a Journey fan. Well, that's Steve Smith. That's cool. I didn't know why. The whole concept of like ghost musicians
Yeah.
I wasn't
No.
aware of
Yeah.
that at the time. Um, yeah, as of 2019, when that documentary came out, Jimmy, he's still pissed about that, and I don't blame
I
him.
don't blame them. No, and we'll
So
we'll,
you're
we'll
in
get.
the band, and
Yeah.
drummers seem to be the worst for getting. Look at Fred Coury from Cinderella. I don't think he played on any of their
Right.
albums.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you've
So.
seen him. I've seen him live. He can obviously play, but
Yep.
what I do know is that playing drums in the studio is a different thing. Your timing has to be
Impeccable.
excellent. But my understanding from watching the documentary is that Mike Stone was not happy with the way Jimmy was playing, but he wasn't saying anything about it. He would
And
just,
just yeah,
oh,
just
Steve,
decide like, no, I can't
step
do
in
it, and
here,
let's replace them. Yep.
and it's like, well, we'll give him a chance. And I got so much respect for Steve Smith because Steve Smith wrote out Jimmy's parts and played
Yeah.
them. I mean,
Exactly.
that's pretty classy, I think,
Yep.
because he played what Jimmy came up with. And it's interesting too because there haven't been a lot surface, but I know that if you get the On Earth Volume One, there's an early version of Hard Times,
Yep.
which is half the same, half very different. It's more of a ballad.
It is.
And it's interesting how that developed into, a rocker, good enough to open, like, you wouldn't open an album with that original version. It's too
No.
slow.
Nope.
But I've
I,
never seen any other demos floating around of that era. And I know they wrote a lot of songs for that album that didn't make the album. I'd love to hear those.
no, absolutely. I think that's perfect segue to kind of get into these tracks here that definitely want to go through these here with you.
Yeah.
So let me start this off. You got Hard Times leading off the album. Just to me, the way Dave uses that toggle switch on that Gibson, starting this song off is just incredible. Haven't seen it, live 5 feet away from him doing this is just amazing. Um, Dave throughout this album has, and in my notes I like pointed out, he has these little screams that he has just right before either the song starts or the vocal start or the solo starts. That is so cool. His vocals are just amazing on this thing. Love the way they use "Forever" and "Winds of Change" lyrics in this
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. I
Um,
think I think they changed it. I think initially, well, the initial version of Hard Times is more about, a story about a woman that's fallen on hard times, is trying to put her life back together. But I
yep.
think they ended up changing it to be more about like a dedication to Joey Alves. Like
Yeah. No,
goodbye,
absolutely.
goodbye, rock and roller.
Yep. No, I think this is the perfect song to open this album. It's for me, this is a top five Y&T song.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I just, I know that when I hear it, it's like I'm listening to the whole album. This I love the breakdown in the middle of it. It fills do 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 the bass line,
Yep. And then you
and
get a
and it
nice build up.
goes into the double time. And I
Yep.
love how they do it on Yesterday and Today Live, where they do it again before they end
Yes.
it.
Yes.
But no,
Absolutely.
the it's got such a great feel to it. And Steve Smith, I mean, like doing the what he does with the hi-hats in the chorus, like having the
Yes. Yep.
it just the song is just breathes, it pulsates, and it's a great opener. It yeah. And it's funny because like by the time I've just gotten into Y&T, so I had it, I think I got 10. I think I finally bought 10 in like July of 1990. But up till then, I had everything from Black Tiger to Contagious. So I was very familiar with the toggle switch that showed up in one of the solos.
Yep.
And I remember listening to 10 and getting to the end of it and thinking, huh, he didn't have any solos with that toggle switch. And then it dawned on me, it's right at the beginning. That's what
Yes, it
he's doing.
is.
It's just a little bit, it's by itself and it's a little bit different.
Yep.
But I mean, it's just the second that like one note, and you're like, I know what this is. Yeah,
Yep.
it's great.
Absolutely. And I love the way this it fades out and then
Yep.
fades into Lucy. So what do you think about Lucy?
It's great. I mean, yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, because Hard Times fades out and
Yep.
Lucy,
Yep.
yep.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, the stops and starts, da 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 da, like, oh yeah, it's great. I mean, it's got a nice long fade on it too. And
Yep.
Dave's all of Dave's solos during
Just
the ad libs,
amazing.
they're all perfect. Like you just
Just
want to
amazing.
listen to, you want to crank it up and hear every last second of them. No, it's great. I mean, I can't really be objective about this album. It's not only is it one of my favorite bands, but this is my favorite album by this band. So, these songs are just ingrained. But I'm just getting this out so I remember who writes. So this one was written by Phil by himself,
Yes, it
whereas
was.
Hard Times written by Dave and Phil.
Yep.
Um, no, it's great. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
you get in the chorus, you get the whoa, kind of
yeah,
the woes in there,
yeah,
which actually kind of repeat in a few songs on this album.
yeah.
Kind of
Um,
kind of a carryover from Contagious, but different because the keyboards aren't so heavy in it.
oh yeah, I mean that's another thing I like about this album too. Like this is a
Yeah,
hard rock album.
it is.
It's just very melodic, but I mean it's not. I don't know. It's actually let's see, Jeff Paris is credited on When There Are Keyboards. That's a name from Y&T's past.
Yep, that's
I
a
didn't
Rocky
know it I
Trust.
did not know it at the time because I didn't realize probably until the documentary that Jeffrey Lieb and Jeff Paris are the
Yes, the
same
same
person.
guy. Yep,
So yeah,
yep,
so he pops up again here.
yep, yep. Well, there's some familiar songwriters on this next song as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Taylor Rhodes, Robert White Johnson. I mean, so Taylor Rhodes co-wrote a lot of the songs on Contagious.
Contagious. Yeah.
And I think he and Robert White Johnson, there's one song on there that's just those two. Is it Bodily Harm?
Yep, Violin
or
Arm.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And of course, I mean, at that, yeah, they were sort of they were never at the level of say like a Jim Vallance or Desmond Child or anybody like that, but they were getting known. I mean, I know that Taylor Rhodes' first one that comes to mind is "Crying" by Aerosmith. I think he co-wrote that with Tyler. So I also I want to say that there's a Celine Dion song that she had a hit with that he
I
co-wrote.
don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Uh, he's not Canadian or anything, but I mean, but it's just when you hear these things, anything that's associated with Y&T, and I see the name in some other context, hey, I know that name.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Exactly.
but as soon as "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark" kicks in, that should have been like that would have sounded good all over the radio that summer.
Yeah.
You know, it's
So
mid-tempo ballad, but it's not slow. It's got a pulse to it. It's fantastic.
yeah, so let me just ask you this, just to throw this out there. Was that the best song to pick for the first single? Or the only
I
single, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's representative of the album as a whole because it's melodic, but it does rock. Um it's not so light that it couldn't get played on hard rock like like not Metal Shop, but I don't think Metal Shop was a thing at the time, but Pirate Radio and all these like late night shows, and yet it could get played on top 40 radio. I think it was just perfect. I think it's the most I mean, I'm colored by the fact that it was the only single from it, and it was the introduction to my
Sure.
fandom.
Sure.
But I think it's the most immediate single. That little drum fill, and then whoa, like you got the guitar matching the vocals, and doesn't go on too long, and then you're right into the verse, and
Yep.
it again. I mean, I know the band didn't write it, but they own it. Like
Yeah.
Dave's
Oh,
vocals on it
yeah.
are just perfect, and the guitar, like all of those, like the guitar solo is great, but the guitar at the end of the song, it's almost like I'm not going to put it on the level of "I Believe in You" because I know that's a totally different thing. But the
Yeah.
guitar solo ad libs, I want to hear
Oh,
every single
not
one of them.
those. Yes.
No, but I love the drums in the outro. Um, the da da dun da 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 dun, and the part where every so many bars, instead of hitting the snare, they hit the big floor tom. That's like
Yeah.
I just want to hear that, and it's so typical of Dave where he'll do a little motif and he'll repeat it. Like every one of those guitar fills is just
Yeah.
golden. And never mind the fact it's just a super catchy song. It's got hooks galore. Could and should have been a hit. I mean, I think that to me, this would have been as much of a slam dunk as Contagious seemed. Different type of song, but it just
Yeah.
needed
No,
more people. It just needed more promo people to get behind it.
no, I get it. I get, Contagious. Yeah, I get why that was the first release. But I kind of think back to like, what the formula used to be during that time,
Well, yes,
like 87 to 90
yeah,
was the hard rock song first
yeah,
and then the ballad. So
yeah,
for me to like lead off with Hard Times, I mean, I'm just thinking like what Dave does on that guitar. Like I can't help but think like, you show that guitar and what he does with it and then zoom out to him like who is this guy? Because obviously a lot of
yeah.
people didn't know who it was. Like, oh my gosh, he can, what he does with the guitar, that, maybe that builds more interest. I don't,
So
I don't know.
I know exactly what you're saying. I think if Y&T had been coming off of a successful album, they probably would have done that. Now I'm gonna use I'm gonna yeah, there was a definite shift at when the ballads came out.
Yep.
I, I'm gonna take Poison Open Up and Say Ah as an example, 1988.
Okay.
First single, Nothing But a Good Time. It's a rocker, but it's catchy enough. They were coming off a successful debut, top 10 single. Then they put out Fallen Angel, which it's not a ballad, but it's
Yeah,
more
it's
pop, it's
more, yeah.
poppier than
Yep.
Nothing But a Good Time.
Yep.
Then they come out with Every Rose Has Its Thorn, number one song. And because they had that, they're like, oh heck, let's put out a fourth single. And speaking of Y&T, they put out Your Mama Don't Dance.
Yeah.
And it's a top 10 hit because it's the momentum, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, Y&T didn't have that momentum. Aerosmith had momentum coming off of Permanent Vacation. That's why Geffen let them put out a pretty rockin' tune, Love in an Elevator, and a pretty risque tune, really, when you think about it, as the first single, and it was a top 5 single. Then they
Yeah.
put out Janie's Got a Gun, which I wouldn't call that a ballad. It's not exactly a rocker either, but it's very like
Oh,
mid-tempo.
mid tempo. Yeah.
Then they put out What It Takes, the big ballad. So I think by the time Y&T got around, they decided to release 10, they're like, let's not cut any corners and get right to the most obvious thing. But they weren't the only band that happened to, because in 1990, let's go. I'm a huge fan of Winger. So Winger had a successful debut album. They
Yep.
come out with it In the Heart of the Young around the same time, summer 1990. Can't Get Enough comes out, just misses the top 40. Actually, I think at Radio and Records it hits the
Love
top
that
40.
song. That's a great
Yeah.
song.
But instead of going to another song as the second single, they go right to Miles Away. I think
Yes.
the record companies were starting to get impatient. Same thing with Warrant. They had Cherry Pie, then they go right to I Saw
I
Red.
like. Yep.
Slaughter, Fly to the or no, Up All Night, then Fly to the Angels. And
Yeah.
then by the time you get to 92, 93, these bands that are coming out that are still on major labels like Firehouse, I think they were getting to this the ballady type things right away.
First.
So
Yeah.
I think this was like hedging their bets.
Just impatience. Yeah.
Just impatience, yeah, because you should be able to work. You know, I've heard Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon say not all singles are meant to be big hits. Sometimes you just want to announce okay, we're back, we're still a rock band, and then set the stage for something
Yes.
more of a ballad to follow.
Yeah.
And that's what Hard Times could have done. They could have even, now that I think about it, and I'm not comparing Y&T to Poison by any stretch, but just like Nothing But a Good Time was a successful song for them, and it's a rock song, like, people like them, people don't. They could have come up with Red Hot and Ready as the first single. I think I froze. I think I froze up. Where did you
Just a
lose me?
little bit. Yeah. Just a couple
I was getting
seconds.
right into it. They could have come up with Red Hot and I froze up again.
Yeah. Red Hot and Ready. Yeah.
So you imagine that on the radio in the summer, you know, and then in the fall put out "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark." I don't know, but you're right. But I think that's why they did it, because Y&T didn't have one or two successful albums in the rearview mirror. Unfortunately, they were still out to prove themselves, and they
Yeah.
shouldn't have had to by this point. They should have just been able to put out a good record.
Yeah. It makes sense, but I don't know. I think if they would have followed the formula that worked for all these other bands, that maybe it would have been a little different. But
Yeah.
who knows? All right, so next song, "Girl Crazy." So kind of like this is like one of the first. Like there's like three songs on this album that kind of revert back to those '80s type lyrics. Um,
Yeah, yeah, this is very much in the same vein as like LA Rocks, The Kid Goes
right.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Jimmy
But this,
actually,
yeah, Jim. I was just gonna say this is the first song where you hear Jimmy, and
well,
there's
now it
nothing
says,
wrong. There's nothing wrong with what Jimmy does on this
but
song.
it says Steve Smith on this one too, but Jimmy co-writes it, which is even weirder.
Is
Um,
it? I thought Jimmy played drums on this song.
he's on,
Oh
he
no,
looks like it's,
I'm looking at City. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm looking at the
but
next
he,
song.
but that must have really, he's like, I co-wrote this song, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, it's, this could have been the first single. Just in time for summer. They could have, you know what? They could have almost done a sequel to the Summertime Girls video. If they really wanted to, hey, we're the same band that did that song. Um, they could have done a video for Girl Crazy. Geffen should have given them more than one video for those two albums.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
I mean
this is
like
Geffen Records. They had no problem spending
they
hundreds and
were making
hundreds of
all kinds
thousands.
of money off
Yeah,
of.
and spend hundreds of $1,000s hiring Marty Callner and all these big video directors, and
Yep.
David Fincher, and before he started doing movies. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
throw a little money their way, and what do they get? They get an empty warehouse and people swimming in a pool. But anyway,
Exactly.
yeah, Girl Crazy could have been a single. It's not my favorite. I like it,
No,
but yeah,
yeah,
it is kind of because so far, I mean, Lucy is kind of like that, but the Phil's lyrics can be very, very clever, and I find the lyrics of that song are clever.
yeah. No, it just kind of just as you're going through it, it reminds you of those '80s type things.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the lyric content on this album is, I don't know, I guess say more mature, but more, you know, different than that.
I
Um,
wonder if this was an earlier song. I wonder if this was
I
an
think it
earlier
was. I think this was well, when
like
looking at it,
came
the
early
earliest
on in the
copyrights was '89. So
yeah. Well, actually, it's funny. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark is copyrighted 1988.
that's right. That's the free. Yeah, that's right. That
So,
was the
but I mean,
earliest.
as far as the
What?
originals,
Yes, if I was the
um,
Y&T themselves, yeah, the
but
band
I wonder
themselves.
if it was one of the first batch of songs, and because I mean, they wrote so many songs. If you think about like Trigger Happy
Yep.
and Shout It Out, great songs that didn't
Right.
make the albums, but they were written. They all have 88 on them, so obviously they were just woodshedding material, and it's interesting, but I mean, it's good. I can't fault it. It's just it just doesn't. I don't know. There are some really there's some a lot deeper lyrics on this album, but there's
Yes. Absolutely.
nothing
Yes.
wrong. It's just good rock and roll
That
song.
that that's
YG
the
have
good word.
always
Just
done
yeah,
songs like that.
yeah, deeper.
Yeah,
Next up is City, which to me is like just a really cool song. That acoustic guitar just to the intro, very blues influence. Dave kind of sings in that deep voice to
that
start.
gravelly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And then it really starts to rock, and he goes back to his normal voice, which sounds great. And this is where Jimmy does play on this song,
You can
which I
hear
think
the
is
once I
yes,
knew, you can hear he's a
yes,
different like Steve Smith is a master musician drummer. He could play anything. Jimmy DeGrasso is a rock
yeah,
drummer. He hits harder.
yeah,
It's interesting because he's got the first songwriting credit on this, him and Al Pitrelli,
yeah,
and so and then Phil and Dave, which kind of makes me wonder if this like Jimmy and Al didn't basically write most of the song, and Dave and Phil just kind of put their spin on it.
yep,
Um, Now I love this song. I love it. I've got no complaints about it, but from the time I first heard it till now, I've always thought the same thing. This is a band looking around saying, who's popular right now? That band's Cinderella.
yeah. I knew you were going there.
Because because this reminds me
Seamstress
of
Blues.
Bad Seamstress Blues into Falling Apart at the Seams, like da
Yep,
da da
yep,
da
yep,
da da
absolutely.
da da, and that's not a bad thing.
No,
Even down to right before the last chorus where Dave kind of screams something like
yes.
Tom is like yeah. He kind of almost does like a Tom Kiefer. It could be just coincidence, but I hear that's what it makes me think of. But I love it. Not only does Jimmy play on this song, but it's one of Steph Burns' guitar solos, and it's great.
That it is. It is
Yeah,
one of his solos. And then,
yeah,
for me, like the chorus is very simple
yeah,
lyrically, but the way they just change a few words, in the
yeah,
last part of the chorus,
yeah.
just
It's
it
it
really
just
makes it.
this would have been I would have thought this would have been great live because just people just
Oh
pump their
yeah.
fist and
I have
they could have opened with a song like this.
I have never heard this song live. I've heard a lot of songs on this album live. This is not one of them, unfortunately.
I mean, I could just picture this being one of those songs that a band plays in whatever town they're in, they insert the
Yep.
name,
Yeah.
you know?
No, this
Like
is
when I
not
saw
one that they've
Kiss, I
done.
saw Kiss in Montreal in 1996, and Ace sang back in the Montreal. He actually sang Montreal Groove.
Right? Montreal. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But so this could have been that, but it's great. This is a highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so this next song, so I'm gonna throw something out to you here. So, in my opinion, this is the best ballad Y&T has ever done. What do you say?
I'm gonna say it's definitely up there. This is fantastic. Yeah. Coming from the rain. Yeah. It's intense. Um, it's lyrically very different than a lot of rock bands were doing. The only other song that I can think of that talked about depression and suicide was Kicks
Don't
Don't
close
Close
your
Your
eyes.
Eyes.
Yep.
Yeah. This doesn't sound like that at all.
That's an amazing ballad.
Yeah. Yeah, this is fantastic. It's one of Dave's best vocals on the album. He just gives it everything. But it's not, it's definitely not a limp ballad. The way that it
Yep.
it's long, it's epic.
It is
Again,
long. Yeah.
those the fade out guitar solos, man. Oh,
Oh yeah.
like it's just great.
That
Like
little
he
mini
just
solo at the end is just
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
But
It's very
again, I think
typical of Dave's style.
yeah, they did the same thing in the chorus as they did in City. They changed just a couple of words in the second
Yeah.
part of the chorus.
It's
It
they
just
keep
makes
the
such an effect.
yeah, they keep the rhyme scheme the same, but it's not
Yes.
your brain's not telling you, God, this is repetitive.
Right,
But it's not. They
exactly.
change it just
No.
enough. It's good. It's great songwriting. This one is written
Yeah.
by
And I think
Dave
this
and Steph, which is cool.
yeah, and it's a great bridge right before the solo.
Oh yeah. Da-na-na-na.
Yeah.
Da-na-na-na. Yeah.
Yep. I
Oh,
just so,
yeah.
for me to just kind of go back, I mean like release Hard Times and then Come In From the Rain as a ballad. I know it's a 6 minute song. They got to cut it down,
They could have edited it down.
but those two, that to me was the magic recipe. But what do I know?
I think they could have gone three or four singles deep with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's just
And it's a great side one closer too.
yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
just an amazing. So, all right, you kind of talked about Red Hot and Ready a little bit, but what else do you think about this song?
That's a great riff. Like
Yes, it is a great riff.
it's just a great riff. Got a little cowbell in there.
Yep.
This is another Steph Burns guitar solo. This one
Yes, it is. You
is
can tell. You can definitely tell it's stuff.
yeah. This is Dave, Jeff Paris, and Phil Cannemore. So it's super catchy.
Yep.
Lyrically, this probably would have worked on Contagious, but I'm glad
Yeah.
it's on here because it's better produced. Um, but and it's sort of lyrically a little bit of a throwback, but not really. I mean, it's got there's even the been a long time, been a long, long time, a little Zeppelin
Yeah.
reference there, which kind of tells you like their roots go back a little bit further than Cinderella, let's say. I love Cinderella, but anyway, but yeah, there's great. It's just great. And Dave's turn of phrase, and actually this might be Phil because I know Phil wrote a lot of the lyrics. I like,
Yeah. Yeah. Most of them. Yeah.
a long time since I've met a girl who has as dirty a mind as mine.
Yeah.
You have
That's Phil. That is Phil.
yeah, I didn't catch that until I looked at the lyrics. But when I read it, I'm like, yeah, that's clever. I like that. It's really
Yeah.
good.
No, good song. Next one is one of my favorites on this album. She's Gone. Again, Dave with that little scream that he starts off with.
Yeah.
The great call and response in the chorus. You're not my baby now. She's
Yeah.
gone. And
Um,
Jimmy on drums here. I love his use of the hi hats in this on the
oh,
chorus.
yeah. Yes. Yes.
And then I think it's just Dave's vocals are just so passionate right at the bridge, like right before the solo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Tears are falling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Never be the same. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
And then more
it's
cowbell.
yeah. It starts off with cowbell. Yeah.
It ends with cowbell.
Yeah. Mike Stone had a prescription.
Yes, he did.
Um, yeah, this is great. There's two things about this song that I find are interesting, and the first one never crossed my mind, but once I heard it, I'm like, oh yeah. On the old Y&T forum, someone posted once, and they were like,
Yep.
"Have you ever noticed that the riff to "She's Gone" kind of sounds like "Too Young to Fall in Love"?"
Absolutely, it does.
And and then, but I never put that together because I don't know. I'm not going to go into a rant about Motley. I own Motley Crue albums, but and that's a good song too. "Unfall in Love's a good song,
That's a
but
very good song. Love that song.
I always think of Y&T as classy. I don't typically think Motley Crue is classy per se.
No, but
But
that
it's
Shout at the Devil
but it's a
album was
yeah, but it's a very
really
similar
good. Yep. Yep.
it's just a little bit da 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 da. It's the same notes.
Yep.
And then Dave would sometimes answer fans questions. And he's like, I'm really, honestly, guys, I don't, that's not a band I listen to. And they're like, yeah, but you toured with them. It's like, that doesn't mean you watched their whole set or you paid any attention. You could be buddies with them. You don't have to like their music.
Yeah.
But what I really think is the weird thing about this is how close this chorus is to the song "She's Gone" by Hall and Oates, especially the "I Got to Learn How to Face."
Face. Yep.
That's verbatim.
Yeah.
It's a different, it's a totally different type of song.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
she's
yeah.
gone.
But
Oh,
yeah.
I gotta learn how to face it. Like that had
Subconsciously,
that had to have been
subconsciously.
subconscious. I
Yeah,
mean, didn't
absolutely.
matter if they didn't own the albums. That song was all over the radio in
Oh
the
yeah.
70s. They must have heard it. But it's
Oh,
not.
absolutely.
I'm just let's put it this way. I would hate to see this happen. But if Y&T were a bigger band, this might be one of those stupid frivolous lawsuits.
Right. Yeah. But
You
yeah,
know,
how many people heard it? Unfortunately.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I mean, you're fighting for pennies, right? So it really
Yep.
doesn't.
All right.
But great. It's great.
Yeah.
And this also is catchy enough to have been a single.
Single. Yep. Yep. At least AOR type thing.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we got speaking of Jeff Paris,
Yeah.
his pen song "Let It Out." Little Middle Eastern feel maybe to.
Well, it's almost like I'm sure it's just a synthesizer, but it sounds like a flute,
Yeah. Sounds like a
which is
flute. Sounds
very
like.
different instrumentation for them.
Yep. Um. But yeah, I think this song, the for me, the verses are a lot better than the chorus. The chorus on this just really didn't do it for me.
It's, you know, I understand why they uh, went to for "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark." I don't think this song necessary. I like it because I love this album so much, and I'm so used to those 12 songs in that order.
Yes.
But you're right. The chorus or the verses are great.
Yes.
The way that the riff down it
Yep.
comes out and comes back in. The
Yeah.
the bridge is great. Everybody's got a fire. Like
Yes.
that's that. But the chorus just it needs something.
Yep.
I don't know
Absolutely.
what it is.
Yeah, the pace of the verses just, is just like just right on point, and then it kind of loses it.
Yeah, but yeah, great. The way the drums come in is great, and the way like when it comes in at the beginning, the way that the sort of sustained guitar,
Yeah.
and then the twin lead that goes into the first verse. There's tons of good parts about it, but
No, there is.
yeah,
Yeah. It just
it
that
yeah it probably if I had to rank the songs in this album, yeah, this might be at the bottom, but I still
well,
like
I
it.
got
It's
I
just
got one more that'll be at the bottom before this one, but we'll get there here
oh,
soon. We'll get there here
okay,
soon.
all right
But
on.
first, let me throw this one at you. 10 Lovers. Is this Phil Kennemore's best song?
Yes, absolutely. He knocked this out of the park. The lyrics are really good. The phrasing is so catchy.
Oh yeah.
If this one takes you on a trip. This could have been a
It's
single,
a
but it would have
journey. Yep.
had to have been edited.
Yes.
But yeah, it's got again. I hear a little Zeppelin. I hear a little Zeppelin with the acoustic guitar, and then it goes into the heavier parts. But the lyrics are so good.
Yeah, I love like
I love this whole song.
yeah, I call it the calm before the storm in the solo where it just kind of builds up,
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
that is amazing. And then, Dave's vocals like on the was it the third chorus on there? Just
yeah. Oh yeah. So then I love it while you walk on
yeah,
by. Like
yeah,
yeah.
just amazing. And then it, kind of finishes where it started, right, with the acoustic ending. And
Yeah.
but lyrically wise and just everything about this song is, yeah, I don't think Phil's had a better song than this one.
No, this was really, and yeah. This I just hear there's so much emotion in this song.
Yeah,
And Dave
absolutely.
was able to sing Phil's lyrics as if he wrote them.
Yes.
And that's something he was always very
Yeah.
good at.
Well, and he did that a lot. I mean, the two of them, they were just on point with each other, as
Oh,
much time as they spent with each other. I mean, just
yeah,
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
great.
they were brothers, man. They were,
Yeah, they were.
yeah.
I
Okay,
mean,
so now I
I
think
mean,
so.
you look at it, they haven't done a studio album without him.
Yeah, yeah, and I not they I certainly wish they would, but it
Sure.
almost makes me wonder if there, are there any more songs out there that can be, geez, I'll take an Unearthed Volume 3, man. I just,
Yeah, yeah. But
now I think I'm starting to I wonder if I don't know which song you were referring to earlier.
well, I would hope that out of the last two, you would.
Yeah, I got a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, so going off the deep end. So this is probably my least favorite song on the album. To me, it sounds like it's like something that could have or should have been off of Down for the Count.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. It's like don't tell me what to wear or
Yep,
anything for
yep.
money.
Has those 80s
Um,
type lyrics and
yeah, it's I love the fact that you got another song that Jimmy plays on, and he's
yep,
the middle section where it's just him for a second
yes,
before the
yep,
solo.
yep,
I know what you mean. This is not lyrically. This is the opposite of Ten Lovers.
yeah,
Brains are on autopilot here.
yep,
Going off the deep end. Every day's a weekend. Hello, Loverboy called. They'd like their.
yeah.
um, I think the album needed a song that was a little faster because there is a lot of mid tempo. Even some of the heavier songs are slower to mid. So I think
Yep.
it needed a fast one, but they're just they're if this was being graded the way that some of my high school report cards were graded, it would I'd pass, but it would
Yeah.
say capable of better work.
Yeah, better work. I will say that, Steph's solo is pretty
Oh,
heavy.
ripping, yeah,
Yeah.
ripping solo, yeah. No, I mean Steph. I mean, when I was doing my book and looking for like other appearances, Steph was like a minor. He was like a lesser known like Steve Lukather. He's played on a ton of different artist albums. Everybody from Color Me Bad to
Yeah.
Alice Cooper to he's fantastic. Um, I think he played with Sheila E. before he played with Y&T, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. But anyway, but yeah, so this is a really good showcase for him and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Musically, I think it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. It
It's not
just
that complicated a riff. It sounds like what it reminds me of? It sounds like something Gene Simmons would have written in the 80s.
yeah.
Like fits like a glove, just down,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I like, but
I
it's just
love
like
Fits Like a Glove. Yeah, I
yeah,
love that song.
but these guys can do like fast
Yeah.
riffs that are complex but don't sound complex. This sounds like you could just bash it out, which there's a
Yeah.
charm there. And this seems probably like a song. This is almost like a song they close with, because it sounds like a
Yeah,
they
I'm glad they didn't because we're gonna get to
yeah.
that one. But
I mean, like
yeah,
close a show with.
oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
for me,
but it's
I think it
right.
suffers from the fact that there are so many better songs on this album.
Yes, yeah. And it by this time it's actually kind of surprising that they decided to put this. I don't know, second to the last song, and they decided to put if let's put it this way, if it was like an old school Y&T band that was all about the metal, right? They're going to be sorely disappointed with this album. They probably won't even like that song, but at least they'll say, well, at least it's fast. But I don't know. It's hard for me to fault anything on this album, but
Yeah.
trying to look at it objectively, yeah, this is not, there are some songs on here that I would say are, almost artistically great, like Come In From the Rain and Ten
Yep.
Lovers. Going
Yep.
off the deep end is just a rock song.
Yeah. All right, then we got the album closer here, Surrender. So I'm gonna put this in some rarefied air here, but
Oh, this is a masterpiece.
this
This
is
is
forever.
fantastic. Oh yeah, this is fantastic.
This is
Oh,
just an amazing song. Just the way the guitar brings you in, and that riff. You can hear like I believe it's Steph at the beginning there, and then Dave comes in. Um, the chorus, um, it's short, right? But
yeah.
effective, I think. But the verses really kind of drive it. But yeah, this is an amazing song. It has that forever feel to it. It's I think the last probably 5 times I've seen them live, they played this song. I don't
Yeah,
want to
I was
call
gonna
it.
say this is on. I think this is on Live at the Mystic.
Yep. I don't want to call it a live staple from them, but it should be.
Yeah, I
This
mean,
is
just as soon as that riff comes on, and I love how it like songwriting wise, how it goes from that D to the F sharp because it doesn't sound like it's like whoa, how did we get there? And the
yeah.
drums,
Yep. Yep.
like oh, it's so good. It's so good. The guitar, I mean, before this, before the first verse, you've already got a great guitar solo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, no, it's.
Absolutely.
I think if you talk to most YT fans, they'll say this is definitely a highlight of this album. And again, I don't know if it could have been a single, but it could have been a video.
Sure. Yeah,
And if the video
absolutely.
got a lot of play, it might have, it could have been a song that got in the 30s somewhere. You know what I mean?
Hey,
Like
if
dented the top 40.
if you want to lead this one instead of Hard Times with a video and then go into a ballad, I'm fine with that too. Either one of
Yeah,
those, to
I
follow
think
that
they.
formula.
I think Hard Times is more appropriate only because it's not quite. It doesn't have quite that melodic. Like this might seem like wow, they're starting off with something a little more commercial sounding, but I don't think. I again, like I've said about Night Ranger many times, they just wrote like that. They didn't write down and depressing.
Yeah.
Even when they tried to, it was still kind of up because you got Dave singing it, right? Like on their what would be the next album. But yeah, no, what made me sad about this song is the way that it closes because I mean this was it for 5 years and we didn't know there would be any more music. So it kind of sounds like goodbye. Like it just kind of sounds like the way that it winds up. It's like a shortened version of I Remember You because that last part, it's like, okay, that was the end of the song. Now here's the end of the album.
Right. Sad that it's over, not sad how it ends.
Yeah.
Love the ending of it, but
Yeah, the fact that it ends and doesn't fade out either.
yes.
It's a very definitive statement, and it's almost like they decided early on, look, this is going to close the album.
Yep.
This is perfect for it.
No.
Um, yeah. Oh, I mean, I feel like I've just listened to the album just talking about it.
I know
Yeah,
look,
so
I,
good.
I knew we were both going to be gushing about this album and not have much,
Yeah.
negative to
If
say
anybody
about it.
watching this, okay, if you haven't picked it up yet, we really
Yeah.
like this band and we really like this album in particular. I don't know if you've noticed the name of Brian's channel, but
Hey, I try to be objective, and there's not, I don't love every YNT song, and
this
there's
started the fandom for me that like I said, culminated in me writing a damn book
yeah.
about them. I
But
mean,
this, I mean, I was, look, I got into Mean Streak, so I've, following through Mean Streak, and when I heard this album, it was like, oh my God, this was like just something about this album just connected with me, and in that summer of 1990 that I have not let go.
yeah. And like the weird thing is, to think about it, it kind of makes sense that we didn't hear from them for another um 5 years, even if this album had been successful, because a Y&T album in 1992, 93 wouldn't have done any better,
Yeah, what does that look like?
because bands that were huge weren't doing
Went
as
away.
good in
Yeah.
92 and 93, right? It's so I don't know. I think it in a weird way it worked out, but I mean, again, this album should have been a big, big, big album for them. I
How
mean,
many times have we said that, Tim?
yeah. Well, I mean, this one, I think this would have been like, if In Rock We Trust was their commercial peak, this probably should have been maybe their second most successful album, or third
No,
behind Mean
absolutely.
Street, because this had the potential to reach a more commercial audience. Because,
This
even
is
though Summertime Girls was even if Down for the Count had come out when Open Fire did, let's go back to that discussion for a second. Down for the Count as an album isn't as strong.
no.
So it's not like it would have sold because everybody likes Summertime Girls. This is an album that people would buy and go back to and listen to. Oh, remember YT's 10? How great an album. I mean, people that know. But this just should have been an album that should not have been in the cutout bids for 2 years running
No.
after this. I used to see this everywhere, and I used to wish I had enough money to just buy every single copy of it I saw in the hopes somebody would ask me, "Hey, what is this anyway?" The people
Yep.
working at the store, when they come in and they say, "Well, what is this?" Once again, I think
No,
it
I
was a
get it.
packaging fail. The
I
cassette,
did.
no, that's
I mean,
great.
this is
And
much
it,
better.
yeah, an end cap full of this, yes. There's
Yes.
no reason why that, and it's classy. It still managed to be classy.
Yeah.
It's not sleazy,
It draws
but
you in though.
it draws you, and there's an air of mystery about it. You can't see her face,
Yep.
but the orange is very striking, and even on the orange on the side of it. So if this had been a band that Geffen was really promoting, there should have been, great big posters in the record stores with
Yeah.
why a whole Y&T section, and hey, maybe the back catalog just in
And
case.
there was not. So
There was not. No, it was an afterthought at best. So
nope. So
that's why it's up to us.
all
Spread the word.
right. I don't know how much more we can gush on this, so I think we may need to call it quits here. But
Yeah.
just again for me, this is if not my favorite, my top two Y&T albums. It has been since the day I first heard it when I got it in 1990. I know you kind of feel the same way. This is your gateway into it.
Yeah, well, it's cool that you were coming into this having been there for the heavier stuff, and you still think this is a
Yeah,
great
I
album.
mean,
I
I'd
came,
seen them like three
yeah,
times, I think, live
yeah.
before this. So I mean,
This was just
yeah,
the perfect for me. This was
perfect
just the
album for
perfect album for the
1990,
for
and
1990. Yeah, this
yes,
was right up my alley, and that's why that one video I saw, I happened to catch it, and I happened to know when it was going to come on again when Much Music repeated, because I know it
yep.
was the only time it was ever played. It and I happened to catch it on a VHS tape, and I watched that. Had no idea that it would just be like, because sometimes you get into a song and then you find out, yeah, but the rest of the stuff doesn't sound anything like that. And it's like, no, this band just has good song after good song after good song.
I mean, this is one of
So
those where it harkens back to 70s and 80s where this needs to be played front to back. You
yeah,
know,
it does have a very singular sound. It doesn't sound
yeah.
like any of their other
I know
albums.
we didn't really get into the sequencing of this, but I don't know that you could have sequenced it much better than how it is.
I think they spaced out the mid-tempo stuff very, very well. Like it doesn't drag it. There's no real
No,
dragging points on it. But yeah, it's just a very, very solid album. And if you've gone this far, and you like a lot of the bands that we've been talking about, this is as good as entry a point as any. Like if you're into the more commercial hard rock stuff, like if you liked 87 era Whitesnake and Winger um and I'm not saying these guys sound like anybody in particular, but I'm just saying if you're attuned to that sort of thing, there's no reason you wouldn't like this album.
no,
It's just a
I
good
don't get it.
it's just a good solid melodic rock album, and like we've said, all people need to do is hear it.
Lyrium.
So
Yep. So,
yeah.
all right. Well, that is our gushing deep dive into 10.
Yeah.
Let us know, what do you think of this album? What are your favorite tracks on there? And Tim, I can't thank you enough for joining me again, especially
Oh
talking
man.
about this album.
Oh, this was, I started out, I'm going to try to be objective, but as we started going through song by song, I'm like, oh, the hell with it. This one's good. This one's good. This one's good.
Yeah,
It's,
no,
yeah, it's just a favorite. It's one of my all-time favorite albums, period.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
definitely up there. So, all right, guys. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe below. Check out part one if you haven't seen that yet, where I go through all the vinyl releases, which there are not many, unfortunately, for this album, but I do go through some cassettes and CDs as well that are pretty unique to this album. So again, Tim, thank you again, and then be on the lookout for more Y&T and the new concert series that will be out for 2026 on the channel. So looking to hear some feedback around that as well. So Tim, again, thank you very much. Everybody, you guys have a great night, and we'll see you again.
But ain't no distractions. Take it off. The mask won't let you see. Ain't letting up till you unleash all your emotions.